What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show on today, where we're talking about week 1 of the HBCU football season and previewing week 2. It was a lot that went down. Labor Day weekend was last week. A bunch of folks lost across college football. There's some folks that won, great performances, and it's a lot to talk about and a lot to unpack. I have Arielle Kilgore in the building. Arielle, how you doing?
I'm just so happy to breathe, to live, and to have football back in my life. Like it has been a wonderful week since last Thursday, a complete wonderful week from watching the MEAC Swag Challenge to having NFL back today to watching DeSean Jackson's and Michael Vick's first game, even though both of them ended in losses. Personally, we're talking performance-wise, I think I should have went with Delaware State because that game, despite the outcome that it had of them losing to Delaware, was more action, was a little bit what I was thinking that Michael Vick was going to bring. Because I'm like, okay, this is a rematch between Townsend and Norfolk State. After losing last year, we should see some momentum. And between the quarterback change and what happened on that field and being blown out for almost through the half, yeah, shout out to DeSean Jackson. I was proven wrong by his ability to coach. Not saying Michael Vick can't, but if you watch both games, you would have seen the definite difference of what their coaching seasons are definitely going to look like trying to go into the Celebration Bowl.
I think so. And I say let's go on and get into it. So Norfolk State versus Towson was your game of the week. Norfolk State lost 27-7. It was a very interesting performance, and I want to save my thoughts because you're already going. Like, I want you to keep going. This is a great breakdown. So tell us further about what you thought about the game.
Listen, when Michael Vick was having that preview game with ESPN and he's talking to Cam Newton, former NFL quarterback, he's just saying, what's the best advice given to you? He said, play at your own game. But I don't think Deion Sanders meant playing at your own game and not having everything together. But we also must remember this is Michael Vick's first time coaching. He has no coaching experience underneath his belt, unlike previous former NFL stars that are now converting into head coaching positions. So one of the things that I was not prepared for after announcing that Israel Carter was going to be the starting quarterback, we had Otto Kuhns in for the rest of the game, replacing Israel Carter, not knowing the specifics of why that happened, but knowing that maybe we might want to see Israel Carter in the game that they have to play next. Otto Kuhn going 19 for 27, passing with only 219 yards. Not bad if you would think about it. But let me tell you, like I said before, they were being blown out all the way into the third quarter until they finally were leading. But trailing at the end of the game is something Norfolk has a history for, and they haven't won their season opener since 2018. So not a great historic start for Michael Vick. Townsend, Andrew Endorf, man, what a quarterback that we saw in Townsend. 14 out of 26 and passing 186 yards. You would think the amount of yards that he threw wouldn't equate to the 3 touchdowns that he threw to 3 different receivers, having really quick drives. Townsend ending the first half 13-0, and the game went downhill for Michael Vick. Not only did they only score in the third quarter, but the time of possession was less than 5 minutes after the half. Not controlling that field. Having some pretty quick, nice little tackles. They did have a sack for a quarterback loss during the third quarter, and they did have a forced fumble on Townsend. But other than that, there wasn't much action during the game. And if you're looking at the game and then you look at these game stats, the third and fourth down conversions between Townsend and Norfolk State weren't that far off. And then after that, you're looking at the first down attempts, not so far off either. I think between 3 or 4 first down attempts that they had. Field possession of the game, of course, Townsend had 31 minutes of field possession, and Michael Vick's team in Norfolk State only had 27. But when you're looking at this game, there's not much difference between what Townsend and Norfolk State did besides the penalties that were going on, besides the drop passes that he had in his receivers, and the forced fumble that they have. Other than that, between those and no interceptions, this was just a game that I think Michael Vick was just warming up to. And it's kind of sad to say that this had to be the first game. But in his press conference, he was talking about just going back to the drawing board, making sure that we clean up certain things. My advice to him is to really focus on what he knows best. Obviously, he chose Otto Koons for a reason. Not a bad quarterback performance, but something that I think Israel Carter should show up and try to do better in and just duel it out. Let them have it on the field. Also, his defense to me is solid. I didn't see a lot of things that I would have wished for, but I do like how they held their line. I do like the guys that he has. I do like the forced fumble that happened. I do like the sack that happened. They showed up to play, and there's only so much that you can go against a team that's kind of new, but you're still filling them out. But that offense has to get it together. There's something in that backfield that has to be done. They have to have more weapons at running back, have to have more weapons at wideouts, have to put their tight end in the game. There are just certain things that he is going to have to go back in the locker room and be like, this is what the offense has to do. And I think he has a little bit more of a competition before he really gets into these conference games that, hey, I can solve this when we're playing South Carolina State, when we go against Delaware State, when we go against Morgan State. There are things that I feel like he is going to figure out. But just for off of performance-wise, comparing it to DeSean Jackson with the turnover at the 1-yard line that they had in the first quarter, with 3 forced fumbles that they had on Delaware, besides the 2 interceptions that Delaware had on Delaware State, Marquise Gill, just an amazing former MEAC freshman honoree as a running back. Having that performance was great. And I think that they should take some of those things from what other teams are doing around the MEAC and just run with it. Not a bad performance, but I was just a little disappointed in seeing that this was Michael Vick's first game.
Yeah, like it's so many ways to go about it. If you remember in our preview show, I said that I think that South Carolina State's going to win the conference again, but I was rooting for Michael Vick because I think it's good for business. How they played is not good for business at all. It's not, because this is not sustainable. This is not successful. Michael Vick has a coaches show that he does with one of the local affiliates in Norfolk, Virginia. And I think it's a brilliant idea that, he's working with one of the local affiliates and this TV thing, and they put the show online and you're able to watch it if you're not in Norfolk. And it was interesting because I'm watching it primarily for Clutch Points to write articles. And he declared that, Israel Carter is going to be the guy. Like, that's our guy. And he called Otto Koons serviceable. Now, mind you, Israel Carter, of course, we talked about, he's a new player to the Norfolk State offense, and Otto Koons had been there, and he was brought in by Dawson Odoms. Otto Koons was more than serviceable, way more than serviceable. Israel Carter was way less than serviceable. I just want to be honest. Like, Otto Koons looked as if the quarterback battle, if there even was one, is over. Otto Koons should be the guy that is the starter for Norfolk State moving forward. And I think if Otto Koons was in the game a little bit earlier with some better offensive line play, Towson might have still won, but it might have been a better ball game. And I think that is the first blunder of Mike Vick's coaching career, is I think that he has to look outside of himself, because I think I know the reason why he chose Israel over Otto. And I think it's because of the style of quarterback that Israel seems to be versus Otto. I think Israel is more of the quarterback, just from my perception. I could be wrong. But from what I see of Israel, he's more of the Michael Vick style quarterback, more of the athletic. He can throw, but he also can run. He can extend plays. I feel like that is more of what Israel is versus Otto being, Otto can be mobile, but he's more of a pocket passer. And I am someone that is pro quarterback that can move his legs, be an athlete, can be a playmaker on the field. But to me, for how that offense looked, especially the run game, which with Kevon King, I was surprised it was so anemic, but I think it was more of the offensive line than it was Kevon King and the running backs. You needed someone to jumpstart that offense. And Otto came in and jumpstarted the offense. He did like a shovel no-look pass on 3rd and 5. It was in the second quarter. He came in, he looked off, did like a Michael Jackson, not Michael Jackson, Magic Johnson. He moonwalked too, but a Magic Johnson no-look pass. I'm like, Otto is showing out. Why was he not on the field to start the game? That was just a bad move. And I'm not saying he can't cure that, but Otto should be the guy. So when I hear the comments in the press conference saying that, well, we're going to still see it's going to be a battle. It's not a battle. The battle is over. Otto is your guy. Go with that experience and go with your eyes. It ain't June no more. It ain't July no more. It's definitely not January or December 2024. I wish it was for a lot of reasons, but it's not. It's right here. It's September. Use your eyes. Otto is the guy. And I think ultimately what they will see is that, listen, Otto is the guy. But I think that Norfolk State would have looked better had Michael Vick chosen better by just putting Otto in. I didn't understand that aspect of it. But I want to go broader here because I want to toss back to you to sort of get your thoughts on this. I think what we saw in this week one, and I'm going to go out on a limb here because I could be very wrong, but I think that we are seeing the decline of the celebrity coach. I think from Michael Vick, DeSean Jackson did well, but DeSean Jackson, and especially Bill Belichick, we're seeing the decline of the celebrity coach as we see it. And I'll explain why. Because I wrote an article about it on Clutch Points. I think that people have a perception of the celebrity coach, the coach that has no college football experience, but they have other professional experiences as players or as coaches at the NFL level. And there's been plenty of other former NFL players and coaches that have succeeded in college football. But it's current Deion Sanders crop that came in after Deion. I think that people see them as the equalizer for recruiting, for getting big name guys, and substituting the lack of college football knowledge with their NFL knowledge. I don't think that works anymore. I think that for Deion, people don't look at the fact that, number one, and we talked about this before, he had the spring season, which he failed in that spring season. It wasn't successful. He didn't make the SWAC championship. And he says, get us now. He gets Shador in, he gets Shiloh in, he gets some of his other guys, and they make that run to the SWAC championship and the celebration of that first year. That team is better the second year. They dominate the SWAC, make the celebration bowl. Of course, they lost both those times, but he goes to Colorado with Shador, with Travis. They struggled that first year, although it was an improvement. Second year, they're 9-4. What people don't see when it came to Deion is two things. Number one, he had experience at Jackson State, and he had an experience where he had to struggle, then he succeeded, even though it was in quick succession and it was an anomaly because of that spring 2021 year. But also, as we talked about at that time when he left, his philosophy changed because it wasn't, I'm trying to get Travis Hunter to come to Jackson State. Deion changed to get guys that fit his scheme. He got, I think, what, Jordan Seaton, that was the number one offensive tackle, but he went and got guys that fit his scheme. I think that the celebrity coaches, the Vicks, the Belichicks, the DeSean Jacksons, all these coaches that have this hype coming in that people think, oh, they're stars, they're going to get all these highly touted players, they become regular coaches, essentially. Because the celebrity that we think is also glamorous gets stripped away, and now it's based on the X's and O's, it's based on the preparation, it's based on the culture that you set, and the guys you get in that might not be the number one recruit, they might not be the number one quarterback, they might not be the number one offensive tackle or defensive tackle, but they're guys that fit the scheme. And I say that to say for Michael Vick is he's going to have to be more Eddie George than Deion Sanders. And I think that what you're saying about DeSean Jackson is going to be more Eddie George than Deion Sanders. And the flash ain't going to be there right now. You're going to have to really work to build a program and get guys that fit your scheme versus the flash of being Michael Vick. And I'm not saying that's how Vick is going into it, but I'm saying across the board, that is what I'm seeing. And I think that from what I saw, I did not like that offense. And from what I saw, your Norfolk State guys that a regular coach, Dawson Owens, brought in, looked better. That's how I looked at it.
I don't think, in that sense, that's a fair analysis. Because if we're talking about celebrity coaches, Bill Belichick and Deion Sanders and Eddie George have all had coaching experiences before they got in the position of a celebrity coach. Eddie George was a coordinator before he became a head coach. Deion Sanders was a high school head coach before he got into this celebrity. Same way with Bill Belichick. He was a coordinator and head coach for different NFL teams before he got his success in Tom Brady. So all of them do have experience in coaching positions, whether they're short or whether they're extended terms underneath 5 years. The only difference with Michael Vick and DeSean Jackson, they have never done this before. So in that sense, to me, it's not fair to compare them to this new era of celebrity coaches because they are literally newbies. These are rookie coaches. They have nothing underneath their belt. Was DeSean Jackson's performance better as a coach? I think so. I can't really say if it's his ability to know the game or if it's his coaching staff that he has had around him. I want to say it is his staff and his ability because that staff as a whole put on a better performance than what Michael Vick did by himself. Then yes, but in terms of Michael Vick's performance and what is going on, I don't think knowing him in the sense or knowing the realities that we have come up with in the news or whatever, I think he was thrown into the spotlight. Like, he knows how famous he is, but the hype around it and not the hype of DeSean Jackson, I think gave DeSean Jackson a better game than what we were doing Michael Vick. Because Michael Vick is in this position, never won a Super Bowl, just a really, really great quarterback. And now coming off of that, going to a school that was 4-8 last year and expecting it to turn it around. This is not like he was given a Jackson State or Tennessee State team. He does have some returning players, but this is a losing school. Like I said, they haven't had their first season win for their first game since 2018. It's not like he was given a program that it's really just built up. He's building it himself as long as building himself with the coach. DeSean Jackson didn't have those same necessities. There weren't as many press conferences, first takes, spotlight saying that DeSean Jackson is coming to Delaware State. We all know what he can do. We all know who he is, but there's no hype around him, which I feel like left the pressure off of him. So in this sense, I don't even think we could compare, like, this is a celebrity coach exodus going on at HBCU culture. I can't say that, but I don't think we can compare the same coaching style and the same coaching, the same coaching happenings that happen with Deion that are happening with Michael Vick and DeSean Jackson. Because like I said, Deion Sanders has had experience, high school and college level, and now going on in Colorado. These two players have not. So this should be a separate analysis, a separate dissertation of what it means to be a celebrity former NFL player going as a head coach with no experience. And they're starting that. One just had a better outcome than the other. And going back to your point with Otto Kuhns, I think, to me, that's safe. And I may be wrong. He didn't have a bad performance. I liked his little toss. I like how he stood his ground. But I want there to be a quarterback battle because sometimes it's not always going to be safe. The Spartans' schedule this year is going to be a learning schedule. There are going to be a lot of games, especially out of conference games, that Michael Vick is going to lose this year just because he doesn't know, not in a bad sense, what he's doing, but also doesn't know the teams that he's playing. He's probably done the research like how we do our research every week. We can watch tape. We can interview people. We can look at what's going on the screen. But he does not know these schools. He doesn't know these schools. He may know some of them because this is a Newport News native, but he doesn't know these teams that he is playing. So there are going to be a lot of losses, hopefully not, but a lot of losses that are going to come for him just for being a newbie coach. And I think in order for you to know, and if you want to take Deion Sanders' advice seriously, make your own game. Stick to the game that you know. He knows what it means to be a dual threat quarterback. He knows what it means to be a leader of the quarterback. Otto Kuhns holds his leadership. He holds his skill. But Israel Carter holds his dynamic and holds his talents. I don't mind putting those both to battle because, yes, Otto Kuhns is safe. But just in case, if he goes down, if he gets injured, I can't wear out somebody that's always been there and not give a chance to somebody that I know could be a different dynamic for my team. This is a whole new learning experience. Otto Kuhns had a great game. Actually, he didn't have a great game. He had a good game. It would have been a great game if he had the offense to play with. But he had a good game. I think Israel Carter deserves the chance to have a good game. Whether they win or lose their game, he needs to see what he looks like for the first half. You need to see what your players look like. You see what your offense looks like. You definitely know you got to work on that. You see what your defense looks like. You can only build them up because they didn't have a bad game at all. They helped get Townsend off of the field. You have guys for that. But you need to see what your guys are actually capable of. So I say, if you want to, test Otto Koons in the first quarter. But I still need Israel Carter to show up who he is. And when these celebrity coaches, I want them to keep coming. But if you're going to choose celebrity coaches, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt that when you choose them, these are coaches that are not having the route of Deion Sanders, that are not having the route of Eddie George. They have no coaching experience at all. This is just something to keep them in the game. And whether they are going to take this to the next level or whether you're going to have to replace them in 2 or 3 years, let that happen. But right now, everybody is in shock because you're taking a celebrity, you're taking 2 celebrities that have been great and putting them in an experience that they have no experience in. Just a professionalism of having great history in the NFL. And we have to remind ourselves that there has to be grace shown. We're not going to say like that wasn't a terrible game that he put on, but I can't grade him harshly because this man has never been there before. And I hope that these next games are going to be better. We've seen what he needs to develop more, but I still want a quarterback battle. And I still want to see what these coaches have with the new coaching experience that they never got trained for.
I think that's real. I think what you're saying is very valid. I think that in my point about the celebrity coaches, I think that a lot of people are putting the platform and what they achieved over actual experience. And I think that what we're seeing is like in the media profession, for example, like people think they can do what we've done and what we went to school for, what we've cried over, what we paid tuition for, or was paying student loans for. They think that they can do it without the expertise because it's easy, right? They think it's easy. So like, for example, you can't just go out and be a doctor, because you have to actually know what you're doing because that's a life or death thing. Like there are certain fields of expertise. You can't just be an engineer without having some level of understanding of what the field entails and what these parts and these different things are. In media, they see the camera, they see the microphone. You can easily buy them because they're consumer friendly. You can go to Amazon, get it, go to Best Buy and get it, go to Guitar Center. They'll help you set it up at Guitar Center. And they think, oh, we can do what y'all do. We watch football too. We do this and that. I equate that to what's going on in the world of a depth of expertise where people think that, oh, it's easy. I can just go and do what Trey Oliver does. I can go and do what Dawson Odoms did. Oh, Dawson Odoms wasn't good at Norfolk, so we can go get Michael Vick to be better. But I think the reason why they think Michael Vick will be better is simply because he's Michael Vick versus it being, regardless if it was Michael Vick or whoever, a different coach that inherits good players from Dawson Odoms' tenure and brings in other players that fits a scheme. And I think it's the same thing with the Mac Brown, Bill Belichick transition. With DeSean Jackson, it's different because I think it was some coaching issues with Delaware State that DeSean Jackson has sort of a blank slate to sort of like uplift and do things differently with Delaware State. But I think that when it comes to the celebrity coach, I just think that people have to have the expectation tempered down because it is not just a Michael Vick thing. It's more of a Bill Belichick thing as well. But to tie in the HBCU side is that there's people thinking that just because Bill Belichick got 6 rings in the and he went to the Super Bowl, and he was successful, as a defensive coordinator and with the Patriots, that he's just going to be good in college. College football and the NFL are 2 totally different games. And we can go so many different ways. We can go and say NIL, we can go and say revenue sharing, we can go and say the transfer portal, but even the expertise of the players. That man played with Tom Brady for the majority of Tom Brady's career. Tom Brady, and my brother doesn't like Tom Brady, my dad don't like Tom Brady because of how he did the Falcons, all this stuff. That's a whole different story. You know the story about how my family reacted that night. That changed my family forever. So listen, Tom Brady is not a fun player in this house, okay? But Tom Brady was a great quarterback. And Bill Belichick had opportunity at Tom Brady on offense and a great defense that he was able to bring in. They signed them, and it was great. You're dealing with college guys that they might be 5 stars, but you have to develop them into being the pros they aspire to be. And that might be a different task for Bill Belichick. For Michael Vick, I think that Dawson Odoms, he struggled. That first year, he didn't struggle. Dawson Odom struggled those other years. But I thought that 4-8 season, there was some glimmers of hope. I understood them firing him, but there was some glimmers of hope that I saw, especially on that offense from Otto Coons and Kevon King, and even Jaden Daniels last year in certain elements when they brought him in for the MEAC SWAC Challenge when Coons was suspended. I just think that people are substituting celebrity for guys that can do the job for clout. And that's what I don't like, because I think with what we see in this college football landscape, especially for HBCU football, Chennis Berry is not a celebrity. Trey Oliver is not a celebrity. They're big to us. Like, we love Chennis Berry, but he's not a celebrity. He worked his way up. But people think because they saw Deion do what he did, and Deion struggled too that 2021 season, because people didn't watch it, but that spring 2021 season, he struggled. I think we're going to see Vick struggle, but I think even with the expectations, we're not us per se, but we're putting expectations on Vick because he's a celebrity. If you brought Randall Barnes in and he's the coach of Norfolk State, you're not going to say, man, I expect him to win. Even me, I said that it's good for business if Norfolk State wins because it's Michael Vick. If it was someone else, if it was Matt Leone from North Carolina Central, he goes in and coaches Norfolk. Or if it's Sean Gibbs went to coach Norfolk, or Reginald Ruffin went to coach Norfolk, I wouldn't say it's good for business. I'm calling myself out. I wouldn't say that. Because yes, HBCUs are good for my business, but Michael Vick got us hundreds of thousands of views in January at Clutch Points. So I'm to blame too, because I want their success because it's Michael Vick. But now I'm looking at it like I only think that he could be successful in his first year because he's Michael Vick. And instead of thinking that, hey, another coach will come in and he might struggle because you got to rebuild the foundation of Norfolk State. So that's sort of my thing about it, is that these celebrity coaches, they just become coaches. And historically, we've seen that. Because even to use an example real quick with Doug Williams becomes Grambling's coach. Yeah, he's the first African-American quarterback to win Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, he balled out. He balled out for the Washington Redskins in that Super Bowl. Yeah, he was a prolific college player. But when he got to Grambling, he was just coach. He was also the guy that had to replace Eddie Robinson, which was a tall task. It was a tall task, 50 plus years of Eddie Robinson Jr. of Eddie Robinson. And you had to replace him and bring that level of success. He wasn't, the Washington Redskins quarterback. He was just Doug Williams doing the job. And we can go on with these other guys. Even with Eddie George, it was the same thing. Well, Eddie George didn't get the fanfare Deion got, but what Eddie George did, he went and turned Tennessee State into a winner, and he won his game. So that's just my thing. And I think I'm to blame too, because I don't folly myself for saying I want Michael Vick to be successful, because it will be good for business for us. It will be good for business for Clutch Points and Pulse. But at the same time, I wouldn't have been saying that if it wasn't Michael Vick. And I think I have to own that. And I think a lot of other people have to own that. And I think change the standard of what we expect. Because what I saw was egregious because it's Michael Vick. But if it was anybody else, I'd be like, it's the first game. That's how I look at it.
It's still the first game to me.
But I think
your game of the week was probably the one that I should have watched. I don't know. It probably would have been better coverage too. My game was kind of bad to watch. I couldn't. Randall, I couldn't.
Yeah,
but
it was bad. It was bad. I had so much going on Thursday too, because I was watching, but I had to put out fires, basically like business fires and all the different stuff. So it was a lot going on. But my game of the week was the Labor Day Classic, Prairie View A&M versus Texas Southern. Man, Arielle, I got one. He won. Listen, his fourth grade teacher was right, and I give him recess. She was right. Like she was on to something, okay? She was on to something. Man, like when I tell you, I was gonna choose Hampton and Jackson State because and then I know you did tell me not to. And I'll tell you the reason why, just opposed to this game. I wanted to see Hampton play HBCU opponents, because I think that when you look at A&T, I'm being so serious. When you look at A&T and you look at Hampton and Tennessee State, they've struggled historically in the non-HBCU conferences, but when they play HBCUs, typically, historically, in these past few years, they've done well. Like Hampton has beaten Howard multiple times, and including when Howard went to the Celebration Bowl. So when they play HBCUs, it's normally incredibly competitive. And in our minds, we're like, oh, well, they should come back to an HBCU conference. Well, we got a chance to see Hampton against who we can perceive as the best HBCU team right now in Jackson State. And that's what really allured me to it. And I thought it was a good game at first, but it turned into a game that wasn't worth game of the week. The Labor Day Classic absolutely was game of the week potential, and you were right. Because the back and forth, the intensity, like the fact that like the storyline of, you had Tremaine Jackson and you had Cris Dishman, and the back and forth between them that actually got a little bit more fervent and it was another press conference where they were bringing up some stuff that I was like, man, are y'all really doing this WWE theme? Because I'm a wrestling fan. Like I understand promo battles. I understand WWE. You know what I mean? So because people love using WWE. They're like, oh, this is like wrestling. Y'all don't watch wrestling. I watch wrestling. So I understand how to use the terms. So we're talking about promo battles. The promo battles get you invested in the match, right? The storyline gets you invested in the match. So I'm thinking, oh, y'all just cutting promos, man. Because in my mind, I'm like, I feel like Tremaine Jackson would have been more upset if had he known that Cris Dishman was going to say that. But then I'm like, y'all really got beef? Is it really personal? Are y'all gonna fight outside? What we got going on? Because this is getting real personal. But it extended to the field in such an amazing way, because Texas Southern looks really good. They honestly do look really good. But Cam Peters with Prairie View, he's that guy. And that's what I'm talking about, even back to the Vick segment, when I talk about you have guys from the last regime. How do you use the guys that were there versus the guys you brought in? And I think that Tremaine Jackson and his coaching staff, they use Cam Peters incredibly well. And I'm looking at it like, is he going to be a guy that's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SWAC? Like, I was very impressed with the offense from Prairie View. I thought the defense was also really good as well. It was a back and forth type of game, and Texas Southern should have won. But you have that game winner, that game-winning touchdown. Because I'm going to tell you what I did, Ari. I'll tell you what I did. Okay, I'll tell you what I did. So I told you that I'm using AI for the picks. So I went on, because it was late. It was real late. I was ready to go to sleep. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put in to Gemini the AI picks. Like, so what we picked, so the AI can say, hey, this is our record. So I'm like, man, Prairie View lost this game. So I'm just going to put down Prairie View lost. But he ended up winning, so I had to change it. Because I'm like, there's no reason why Prairie View won. That last second touchdown was immaculate. And they really did that twice, because there was a touchdown that was called back, like with the penalty. So I feel really good about this Prairie View team. I like what I saw. And I think that there was an intensity that Tremaine Jackson brought. Because, yes, this is the Labor Day Classic, and this is one of the bigger classics in HBCU football. But I feel as if there was an intensity that Tremaine Jackson brought that would not have been there had it not been for him. And I think that the back and forth and the talk helped that. And I think that there are some areas of improvement for Prairie View that they have to undergo. But I like what I see, and I think that they're going to be a problem in the SWAC West. I'm not saying that it's going to go through and win, but I think you have a proven coach in Tremaine Jackson. He has a winning background, winning pedigree. And I think that this game proved a proof of concept that you cannot count them out. But I will be honest and say that Texas Southern really impressed me. And I think that there's someone to look out for as well.
I'm just happy to see that Prairie View is back to the competing champions that we used to play at A&T. No longer really playing them anymore, and I do miss them. And shout out to them having an amazing game in this new coaching tenure. Even though we lost, I think the development of it being a close game, but even being a competitive game, was something that I was looking forward to, and I do have high hopes for my alma mater this season. But Prairie View, just seeing the battle that they put on and seeing the display of athleticism, I'm kind of happy. Not gonna lie, kind of happy that they won. Kind of happy to see them back on the top. But we talk about this every year. What conference is going to be better? And I think for the past couple years, in a way, despite having less teams, the MEAC has been something of extraordinary, just something to be in awe of. But the way that these SWAC teams are playing, what I saw from this weekend, what we're going to walk into going to this season, I think the SWAC may be back. I think this is something that we should be scared of. And right now, just looking at it, even though Texas Southern lost, it's still anybody's game. Still anybody's game to win. But the amount, like the competition that we saw this weekend, the amount of athleticism that was put on display, I really can't tell you who I think is going to go to the Celebration Bowl anymore. And I'm happy about that. I'm ready to see some SWAC competition going on. And if Prairie View wants to make a run for it, I'm all here for it.
I'll tell you this. We know Jackson State's making it, unless it's Alabama State. But I think Jackson State's still in the hot seat in the East. I'm not impressed with FAMU. We'll talk about them later. But the West is indeed wide open because you have Southern. You have Prairie View. I think Texas Southern is really good. And I think Grambling is going to have a good showing as well because Alcorn State, we'll talk about them too. I'm very disappointed in them. But I think it is going to be interesting. And I think that what you have in the SWAC that I think a lot of people that are outside of, these HBCU circles and this HBCU media space don't understand is there's a lot of good coaches in the SWAC. Sam Shea going to Alabama A&M, Tremaine Jackson going to Prairie View, two guys that were just in the Division II playoffs and played against each other just last season, really a few months. It ain't even a full year yet, a few months ago, right? Then you got Eddie Robinson Jr. that I think is an amazing defensive-minded coach, and his staff knows how to cook up a good defense. T.C. Taylor is the guy to beat in that conference now, and he built Jackson State back into that contender after Dion left. I think that there's so many amazing coaches in that conference that I think that things are going to get really exciting in the SWAC, but I just think people still need to look out for Tremaine Jackson and Prairie View because the reason why I think juxtaposed like a Norfolk State thing sort of to sort of tie that back into it is Tremaine Jackson has experience. And I think his experience, him knowing the style of game he wants his team to play and sort of the approach he wants his team to take, I think that helps him in building an immediate contender. So I'm excited, Arielle. When I tell you, like, you're going to see me pick more Prairie View games. I got some Prairie View games coming up for my game of the week for sure. And hopefully they make it interesting or just flat out win, but I want to say this too real quick before we move on. SWAC TV, because the game was on SWAC TV. It wasn't on ESPN Plus. SWAC TV, they had their struggles to start because that Southern versus Mississippi Valley State game, I was intently watching because I thought I was going to be right. And I sort of was right. But, I watched that game. That was rough, man. That was rough. But that Prairie View Texas Southern game, Arielle, when I tell you, like, I think for sports broadcasting, we don't hear enough of the ambient noise. We hear the commentators, we sort of hear the bands, but we don't hear the crowds when it's a fourth down or third down conversion. We don't hear the crowd when it comes to a touchdown. We don't hear the students chanting and cheering. We don't hear the alumni chattering and stuff like that. I love the SWAC TV broadcast of Prairie View versus Texas Southern because we heard that. And it felt like, honestly, I was at the game. I'm sitting in front of my TV and I'm into the game because I felt like I was at the game. And those things matter when it comes to broadcasting. I need for SWAC TV, for Charles McClellan and the crew, I need for them to use that game as the model for what every game is going to be on SWAC TV. Because if that is the model and that is how you do it, SWAC TV is going to win. I thought the presentation was phenomenal. It reminded me of them old school NBA days. You had Fox Sports South watching the Hawks and all the different stuff. It reminded me of that because things different now with FanDuel Sports TV, but like it was amazing. I love the broadcast and it was really fun. And I look forward to see what they do with SWAC TV. But you have any final thoughts before we move on to your very exciting game of the week? You got a very exciting game of the week.
It's not an exciting game of the week, and you know that. It's not.
Why is it not exciting?
I had a hard time.
I was just gonna say, like, why is it not exciting? It's DeSean Jackson. We love DeSean Jackson. No way.
I had a really I hate that the MEAC does this, but it's just because of the lack of competition. Not saying that, and for clarification, not that any of the MEAC teams do not hold a candle to any other teams, but just the lack of in-conference competition. Like there's not a lot of games that the MEAC can do, just because it's like 5 or 6 teams there. So it's hard to choose a MEAC game when we really don't get into our in-conference play till homecoming. So I'm watching all these teams. I'm watching all these HBCUs trying to run over hurdles of being these teams that sometimes are good and sometimes aren't great. And right now I'm relying on the celebrity of what's going on in the MEAC. So my game of the week, unfortunately, is going to be Albany and Delaware State. I do think this is a game that they can win, though. Delaware State and the University of Albany really struggling right now in their first game openers. But like I said, Delaware State showing flashes of excellence, especially on their defense, especially forcing those turnovers. I think this is going to be a struggle for Albany playing against them, already losing their game 34-7 this past week, something that they're trying to build off of too. But we could be seeing DeSean Jackson's first win going into this Saturday game. I'm praying that is his first win. I'm not seeing anything that is telling me that this couldn't be something that they do take a hold of. I would like to say, though, that I think if they clean up some of the interceptions that his quarterback threw and they play on the same level that their defense was playing, this may be a game that they can clear out of with a touchdown, maybe even double digits. I could see it. I could see him having his first double-digit win game. So I'm pulling for Delaware State in this one. Not one of the best games that I saw on the schedule, but this, to me, I think DeSean Jackson could declare his first win, and that's why I chose it, hoping that this can build some momentum for his team trying to rise in the ranks of the MEAC.
Yeah, I think that, what you're saying is totally right. So are you going to choose Delaware State or are you going to choose Albany? Okay.
No, I'm gonna choose Delaware State. They'll be my first risky pick. And I say risky because he's already lost his first game. But I have confidence in this one, which is so crazy for me to say. I have confidence that he is going to win this first game. So I'm gonna let Delaware State be my first risky pick, and I'm willing to. I'll hold down on that, 10 toes down on that. All 4 of them, A&T 4, all 4 of them sitting at that table, holding it down. Change is gonna come through Delaware State.
Listen, we gonna see if that change is gonna come. Like I'm looking at their stats from last week, University of Albany. They played Iowa, so I mean, I didn't expect for them to do exceedingly well. But they were 4-8 last year. University of Albany typically tends to be a great FCS program, and they're always in contention typically to go to the FCS playoffs. The last year they didn't do that. They were 4-8, and of course you go against Iowa, and Iowa does what they do. But I think that Delaware State honestly can win this game. I did see, like you were saying, I saw a lot of good from Delaware State that I think is very encouraging. I think the defense is going to be pretty good. I like how the offense was moving. And a lot of people have said this. I can't remember who I saw this from first, but I think the difference that we see with Delaware State especially, it goes to the coaching staff. You got Travis Clark that is like DeSean Jackson's right-hand man. I'm not sure if that's really his brother. You know how black men are. Like, hey, that's my brother. But that's not your blood brother. But I don't know if they're really like brother. He called him his big brother. I don't know if that's really his brother. But like Travis Clark was like a seasoned like high school coach. So you're bringing in like a guy with that type of pedigree into the college level, and that's your right-hand guy. And then you got like Clinton Portis on that coaching staff, coaching the running back. He has a very impressive coaching staff. I think that I choose the coaching staff that can develop their players and put together a good game plan, like versus someone that I think the coaching staff needs a little bit more work. I think Norfolk State needs a little bit more work. although he might like stay with these guys. But I think it's a lot of things when it comes to Norfolk that needs work. But with DeSean Jackson and Delaware State, I think they win this game. Honestly, I agree with you. I think they win this game. We're going out with the ship. AI is going to keep us in check, Arielle. AI, listen, the Terminator, going to make sure we got it right. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but I think that this is going to be DeSean Jackson's first win. I think the HBCU community is going to see an amazing proof of concept. Because one thing you said, Arielle, that was true. There's not a lot of people that are talking about DeSean Jackson. And the only reason why is because he ain't Vick. He ain't Vick. And DeSean Jackson was dope. He was a great receiver, and he's younger than Vick. But at the same time, he ain't Vick. Michael Vick literally revolutionized the coaching, the quarterback position. And you saw Cam Newton wax poetic about it on First Take. I thought Cam Newton was gonna start crying. And if he did, that's fine too. But I'm just saying, like, I thought he was gonna cry over the fact that Michael Vick really impacted his life in that way, being a kid in Atlanta that wanted to be a quarterback, and we saw what Cam Newton did. So DeSean Jackson is sort of overlooked even as a quote-unquote celebrity coach because Vick is also in the same conference. So I think that DeSean Jackson, like I said, he's going to go on an Eddie George type of run. It might not be this year, but I do think that they're going to win this game, and a lot of people are going to be talking, and I think there's going to be a lot of attention that shifted over to Delaware State. But, Arielle, I want to just say, before we move on, we've been here. We've been here because we got the recap of the first game on Pulse YouTube. We've been here. We've been covering Delaware State with DeSean Jackson there. So don't think we knew, okay? Because we not new. You know what I mean? So I'm in agreement with you, Arielle. I think Delaware State gonna win. So Arielle, my game of the week is Southern University versus Alabama State. So this was the easiest game to pick. There were some other really good games I thought would be interesting to pick in the SWAC schedule. But I think that this game, being as early as it is, in Alabama State doing what they did against UAB, and Southern University, although they won against Mississippi Valley 34-29, they had their struggles. I think that this is going to be the game that people have to watch. We got to talk about that UAB versus Alabama State game. Andrew Body is back. He completed 18 of 24 passes for 312 yards and 4 touchdowns, while also rushing for 119 yards and another touchdown on 16 carries. He was in his bag against an FBS opponent. And the thing about it is that in sports, we try to minimize these performances to fit our agendas, to fit our narratives. We see it more prevalent in basketball, but it happens in football as well. And a lot of people will say, well, UAB isn't all that good. Oh, well, UAB, they've struggled. Oh, well, Alabama State, like they were going to do well because UAB is not competitive. But when we look at the schism between the talent that people tell me about when it comes to FBS and FCS, we talk about what's on that offensive and defensive line. We talk about the type of talent they have at quarterback and running back. Andrew Body was the best player on that field. I don't care. Andrew Body was the standout player between both of the teams. And if Andrew Body did not play, Alabama State would not have gotten 42 points. They would not have gotten that against UAB. I get UAB isn't that competitive. Again, a lot of people are souring on Trent Dilfer, but Andrew Body made sure that Alabama State was in that game, and I could tell he really wanted to win that game, and I hope his performance in that game helps him get some tape for the scouts of the NFL, for him to go out there and get, hopefully, maybe drafted, get signed when it's his time. And even Trent Dilfer went over to talk to him. Trent Dilfer showed him some love. So I honestly think, man, Andrew Body was amazing. And I honestly was ready to tune out of that game because, this game's over. But Alabama State actually secured the lead. They went up 38-28. I honestly thought that not only was Alabama State going to win this game, they were going to dominate it. But ultimately, UAB came back, but it was a game, and I think Andrew Body wanted to win. And I think what that UAB game shows is a proof of concept. It's a proof of concept, especially for Eddie Robinson Jr. And the reason why I say it's a proof of concept for Eddie Robinson Jr. is that we've had some issues with his offense. I think that a lot of the folks that's talking about HBCU football, and we cover it, we see Eddie Robinson Jr., former standout linebacker, we see him as a defensive mind. And we know he's had some fearsome defenses. over the past couple years that he's been at Alabama State. And we all remember the Deion Sanders, I'm swag, he ain't swag moment. What a lot of people don't understand is that in that game against a supercharged, high-power Jackson State offense led by Shedeur Sanders, Alabama State, for the majority of that game, was holding Jackson State. Like, they did very well against them defensively, probably one of the better defensive stances against Jackson State that year. And we've only seen Alabama State dial it up even more defensively. Offense has always been the question mark. And you get Andrew Body last year. You don't do a lot with Andrew Body because, of course, he gets injured. But then you bring back, the other quarterback. I think his last name was O'Brien. We know he wasn't all that great. We talked about him extensively at that point in time last year. So you bring in Andrew Body. He's healthy. He's ready to go. And everything is all good with Andrew Body. And we see what happens when you have a quarterback on the field that's a dual threat that can make things happen. I think that Alabama State is going to be the true second tier contender. Like you got Jackson State at the top. I think that Alabama State is going to be leading the pack. Now, Southern University, I did not like what I saw in the MEAC Swag Challenge from their offense. I want to say first and foremost, I hope that Jalen Woods is okay. He took a really nasty hit. The game stopped for a long time. The paramedics had to come out. He had to go to the hospital, and I'm hoping that everything's all good. All signs point to him, recovering from what occurred, and he's doing well. I'm surprised that play where he was hit was not a penalty. I'm very shocked. Like that should have been targeting, in my opinion, because it looked to me like that Mississippi Valley player lowered his head. Now, I'm not saying it was necessarily intentional, but I think it probably should have been targeting. That should have been a penalty. I think that was a total miss by the referees. But outside of that, hope Jalen Woods gets better. But I just think that if Cameron McCoy has to be the quarterback for Southern, I don't like their chances. I just really don't. Because I think that Southern needs a quarterback that can benefit from the running game. Because I think that Southern is going to have a prolific running game. And Trey Holly didn't even have a standout game. He had like 29 yards. Like Trey Holly didn't have a standout game this game, but you got a stable of running backs with Southern that we know that Southern's going to want to run the ball and dominate the game in that way. But if you don't have a quarterback that can throw it on third and long, a quarterback that can fake you out with, like, let's say, hey, I'm going to give the ball to Trey Holly. No, it's play action. If you don't have that, I just don't think you're going to be successful in the SWAC. I just really don't. And I think that Terrence Graves and his coaching staff really have to think about switching up that offense and then in the future getting a quarterback that can do both. Because we see that Andrew Body can do both. He can throw, he can run, he can make plays. Like Andrew Body can do it all. I think that that's the quarterback that Southern needs. I don't think they have that. I don't think it's going to be good going up against Alabama State. I could be wrong. I think the Alabama State is going to win, and I think that Southern's going to be in for a rude awakening for these next few games.
I'm going to agree with you that I think Alabama State is going to take this game for a couple of reasons. But going to the non-called targeting that happened, it's a lot that goes into targeting because the penalties that happen after that to a player, regardless if it was intentional or not, are going to change the way of the season and the games that come forth. Because once you do declare that is targeting, that player is thrown out of the game, they're suspended based on what the conference of people may decide, or who may be over their football initiative, whatever their network. He could be out 2 to 3 games, depending on that. And there may be some limitations according to the coach and the staff, and then you have to change your whole line of if that player was important or not. So I'm not saying that play shouldn't have been called targeting, but there's a lot of things to make it flip. And if it didn't look intentional and it just looked like they were running into each other, because from what I saw, I see what you're saying, but it didn't look intentional and it just looked like they just hit at the wrong time where it could have been targeting. But there's a lot of things that go into that. To me, I think there definitely should have been a penalty, whether that was targeting or not. No, definitely probably a flag there, but how the refs decided to handle it, that's how they handle it. But I need them to look more closely into the season. But one of the things I would say that the reason why Southern isn't going to win this game is because of two close calls that we have seen. The MEAC Challenge, even though that being the first game, kind of a warm-up game, just something that gets us into our HBCU football season, a glimmer of hope, but not the best performance. And then you coming up against a team that playfully we make fun of, but it's starting to show sparks and scare me a little bit of being a good team that we could see progress during this season. Coming close to losing to Mississippi Valley State is not something that you want to have on your record. And they almost messed me up for the quick picks that we got next. But Southern barely making it out, not putting on that dominating performance in a way on the ground game that they exhibited during North Carolina Central last year is a little scary. Not having these breakout moments from some of their key players is a little scary. Having some of these drop passes and penalties and little mistakes against a Mississippi Valley State team that is not on the same level as you is scary. So for them to go into this next game playing at Alabama State and now playing a healthy Andrew Body, which, by the way, we don't have time to get into, but I think Andrew Body is what Israel Carter could be if he wasn't a freshman. Andrew Body's coming into his second season, but even though he was injured, I feel like Israel Carter could work onto him, but we don't have time for that. Andrew Body now being back in full form, his Kappa Kappian, his shimmy, and him doing whatever he needs to get done, a part of his playing game. I think this is something that Southern is going to have a wake-up call that we've been skating by, but now this is too close to call. Alabama State may not run over Southern, but they're definitely going to show what a team that has it together looks like. And if Cameron McCoy can't get it together as a quarterback and making the best decisions for his team, I don't know Southern does have options. But we see this every time in HBCU culture where we switch up quarterbacks. We saw it with Coach Michael Vick, and we've seen it all the time, especially in the MEAC. We've seen it at Alabama State 2 years ago where they play on different quarterbacks. We even saw it last year, and we've seen it in Morgan State, and we see it in Delaware State. The only two teams that don't switch up coaches all the time are Central, not coaches, but quarterbacks are Central and South Carolina State. Not saying they're just being blessed with really great picks right now, but you don't want to try to make your team so uncomfortable that you're making all these changes and each quarterback has their different style. So I'm hoping this could be the game that Cameron McCoy, even if they don't win, find some kind of rhythm in there. But at the end of the day, because of their last two performances, this is not a game that I'm seeing that Andrew Body doesn't dominate, that Alabama State doesn't dominate, and they don't come out with the win in this.
So for the HBCU Post Radio quick picks, okay, so here's the breakdown because I was so serious about going to Google Gemini. We're not sponsored by Gemini, but I love using Gemini. I like it better than ChatGPT because I like the Google integration into it. So we finished with a record of 10 wins and 7 losses. And the only difference in our records was 2 games. So Mississippi Valley State and Southern won 34-29. That's a win for you, but a loss for me, although in the grand scheme of things, it proved my point. So it was a win for me too. Okay. And North Carolina A&T versus Tennessee State. Tennessee State won 24-21. This is a win for Randall, but a loss for you. But I guess a win in the grand scheme of things for you because it was a really good game that A&T could have won. So we were right about Prairie View, Delaware, South Carolina State, South Alabama, Jackson State, FIU, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Grambling. You picked Southern, and I picked Valley, and I picked Tennessee State. You picked A&T. Those are the ones we got right. We got wrong. We got wrong. We picked Norfolk State over Towson. We picked North Carolina Central over New Hampshire. That was crazy. We picked Florida A&M over Howard. We picked Alcorn State over the winless Northwestern State. My bad. And we picked Alabama State over UAB, which that could have been very true. We picked so I picked Mississippi Valley State over Southern. You were right. You picked North Carolina A&T over Tennessee State. I was right. So overall, we had the identical same record, and we have an 11-7 overall record, and because we swap losses. So that's where we are. So what do you think thus far going into
If I could have switched, and you know what? That's on me. If I could have switched Howard for Florida A&M, if I just wasn't so proud, that really pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie to you, Mississippi Valley State, I'm very proud of them, but that actually pisses me off too. That these are guaranteed. To me, they were guaranteed wins, and these teams, they really let me down. I'm not mad about Townsend and Norfolk. I'm a little hurt about New Hampshire and Central, but that's neither here nor there. A little hurt, but that's neither here nor there. A&T is like you said, a moral win for me, just because I've never seen a game under a coaching staff in the past 2 years that has been so close and seen a team so assertive and so technically sound. That was a great game for our return. So I'm okay with that. But Howard and Mississippi Valley State, I want to run. I need to run my one, because that actually pisses me off. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do for me is I'm going to try to really pitch perfect, because I want to really make sure, that I don't balloon my loss record. So we're going to start with, we're going to start with the MEAC. So Norfolk State versus Virginia State. Who you got in this game?
I'm just not too confident in what Michael Vick is trying to do, and just on the only premise of that being, this is just him being a first-time coach trying to figure it out. So, in this case, I mean, even though this is home, he may know this school, but this is something that he still has to get used to. I'm going to say that he probably still won't see his first win this week, and I'm going to go with Virginia State.
What? I'm proud of you. Proud of you. And here's the reason I'm proud of you. Because they're like, oh, this is Division II school. And you know how I feel about that. You know good and well how I feel about that. I'm going on a rant about that. I'm not going on a rant today, but
If I know anything, Division II schools, especially up north, if we really want to talk about it, those are the cream of the crop. No offense to any Division IIs in the South. No offense. But y'all are not knocking on what they got going on up there. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't say all that. I wouldn't say all that, because you got Tuskegee down south. Tuskegee was making things happen. Fayetteville State, was doing some stuff. Fort Valley, once upon a time, we was doing stuff. And Sean Gibbs came from a school down south from Georgia. So that's y'all's coach now. So
I'm just saying your key words were once upon a time. So
I mean, once upon a time, we won the SIC championship 2016 at Fort Valley. So I mean, I'm just saying, But listen, someone had to pick Virginia State, and I'm glad it was you. I'm going to choose Norfolk just for the sanctity of my picks. But I do think Virginia State totally has a shot. I think people do not understand that Virginia State is one of the contenders in the CIAA. And what people don't understand is that when you have a Division II contender that plays an FCS team that's sort of middle of the road trying to figure themselves out, sometimes those Division II contenders come in and they win. And let's not forget, Virginia State beat Dawson Odoms, and Dawson Odoms apologizing to the fans. He was like, y'all want to apologize that we didn't do our best. We're going to do better. Like, that's what Virginia State did. It was a messy game at the end, but that's what Virginia State did only a couple years ago in 2023. So it's not out the realm of possibility that Virginia State will win again, because under Henry Frazier, they're that good. But just for the sanctity of my picks, I'm going to go with Norfolk State. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope you're right, because I want the Division II team to win. So all these folks that say, it's a Division II school, why you got Division II schools in your schedule? How about it? Win. W. But I'm not going to pick them, though. I don't have the courage of my convictions.
And in my sense, I don't think it would be good for Michael Vick to win the rematch, for him to lose the rematch of Townsend and also lose to a D2 school. But however, I don't see, like, that's not going to look good for him. He still might have a little leeway because of his celebrity, but I don't see this as a win. I see DeSean Jackson really going out there and being like, okay, y'all want to talk about Michael Vick so much, but look what we're doing over here in Delaware. So this is not a risk for me, like how my game of the week is a risk. I think this is a sound decision.
I think it is too. Either way, if you lose, it was still a sound decision. If you win, it was absolutely a sound decision. Well, I like to put myself in win-win situations because I'll be happy for you, but also my agenda would be fulfilled because these people are gonna stop playing with D2 football. And Tremaine Jackson agrees with me. I want to say this real quick too. Tremaine Jackson, like I put up Prairie View wins. Like what about Division II football? Oh, okay. He liked the tweet. And I was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Tremaine Jackson knows what's like, and he don't even follow me. I don't know how he saw it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how he saw it. But listen, Division II football be going off. But I choose Norfolk State just to be clear. Howard versus Temple. Can we agree that Temple's gonna win?
Okay, I was hoping. I was like, are we still on the can we agree? Because I was like, I know we're not finna debate this. We're not finna debate this. Okay.
No. Okay, so we both picked Temple. I want to make it clear for Gemini, for our AI audience, okay? we picked Temple, okay? So Morgan State versus Towson. Who you got?
Me and them Bears have a love-hate relationship. I know you do. They disappoint me every year. But actually, no, but I think everybody's gonna be real disappointed with me. It's not gonna be a lot of MEAC picks this year. I'm gonna go Towson.
I'm gonna go Towson too. I still don't like the offense for Morgan State. We're gonna see how they look more mid-season, but yeah, I think Towson's gonna win this game and they're gonna go 2-0 in their MEAC slate of games, you know. But yeah, I think Towson wins this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Morgan State won because I think they do have a quarterback, but I just want to see a little bit more from that offense before I really have faith in them.
I don't think Morgan State's quarterbacks and coach are never the problem. It's their offense and how it's run that is the problem because they always come into the season with high hopes and they play winnable games, but then they just collapse towards the fourth quarter. And it's like, what are we doing? It's like it's like Falcons. It's all that momentum. And then we get into the fourth quarter and nothing is executed. And I haven't seen anything that changed my mind. So that's why I do believe Towson. You know, Towson is having a little murder spree in the MEAC. I'll let them have it. Not for long, but I'll let them have it. When they meet somebody, we'll get there. But yeah, I can't see it in Morgan State.
Yeah, not for long, and not Morgan State. So listen, you know we got a lot of love for Chennis Berry at South Carolina State, you know, and with God anything is possible. Okay, but South Carolina, I watched that game against Virginia Tech. They look really good. And that quarterback, I got to get, because, you know, it's so many, because keeping up with HBCU football, you got to watch FBS when you can, because, like, if you're a fan, you can sort of vacillate between the two. But it was Sunday. I went out with my family. We went to a real nice restaurant. I think it's called Walk-Ons, you know, and it was really good. They had a good turkey burger. So like, it was really good turkey burger. I'm a turkey burger kind of, so I can tell you what a good and bad turkey burger is. So like I was trying to keep up with the Division II games and FBS games. So I saw that quarterback though for South Carolina, and that quarterback is like that. That team was moving the ball crisply against Michael Vick's alma mater. Okay, so can we agree that we love Chennis Berry? Shout out to him, but they not going 1-0 this week. South Carolina's winning. Can we agree?
Absolutely. I was in the kitchen fixing me a plate when my dad turned on that game, and I was like, wait a minute, because I kept looking, I was just like, oh, this look pretty good, and I saw that one, I said, oh, I might need to actually eat upstairs this time, and because this game would kind of, oh my gosh, college football this year, different beast. Shout out to FSU bringing down the House of Alabama.
Yeah, congratulations to you. When I saw that score, because I had to go back and watch it after everything was over. When I saw that score and I watched the game, I thought, I was like, man, I'm gonna text Arielle, but I just didn't. But I was so happy for you.
I believe we're back. It's been a rough 3 years, but I believe my FSU team is back. Shout out to my Seminoles. Oh man, that made me so happy. Saturday.
I was very happy for you. And I want to say for Gemini, okay, because sometimes AI be wrong. Florida State, North South Carolina are HBCU. So we're not picking for that game for any games for them. However, we both pick University of South Carolina over South Carolina State for our AI audience, okay? Because AI audience, they read through the transcript. They're like, what these folks talking about? So like, listen, for AI audience, that is, we're picking South Carolina, okay? Now this is where it gets tricky for Arielle. Old Dominion versus North Carolina Central after the New Hampshire loss. What you got?
It's not tricky. It was surprising that they lost to New Hampshire, but it's not tricky. You know, Old Dominion's not a bad team. And there have been some years where I'm just like, I'm proud of them and what they accomplish and what they do and how they get on the field. This is a team that I think can hang with Central, but I don't think it can hang to win. So I'm going with, as clarification for Gemini and for our audience, I'm going with Central for my pick.
Wow, you got so much faith in them. Listen,
I have so much faith in Walker Harris right now and Trey Oliver. So much faith.
Okay, so real quick, you know, I got this iPhone. I got 2023, so I can Google real quick. So Old Dominion football, because I want to, because since you're picking North Carolina Central, I gotta see like what type of time they on. Okay,
You don't know what type of time Old Dominion on?
Well, they're 0-1. They lost. Oh, they lost to Indiana 27-14. Indiana's 20. Indiana had a good season last year. I'm picking Old Dominion. Oh my God, yeah, I'm picking Old Dominion. They like to be. Looks like now unless they scored it, because I didn't watch this game. So unless they scored in garbage time, let's see. Let's see what it was hitting on. Old Dominion gets the ball first. You got Colton Joseph rush up the middle, 75 yards, gain it was a touchdown. Then so it looks like Indiana scored after that. It was a 91. I should have watched this game. 91-yard kick return. Now I'm picking Old Dominion. No, this is sort of a little back and forth game because Old Dominion gets on the board first. Then you got Indiana. They start to cook. They go up 7-23, 7-24, 7-27. Then fourth quarter, they got, they scored 14. I'm picking Old Dominion because they started off good against the number 20 team and held them to 27 points. I'm sorry, Trey Oliver. I'm picking Old Dominion. Y'all let me down. Y'all let me down last week. I can't afford to get 7 losses ever again. So we're gonna deviate on this one. I'm picking Old Dominion. Arielle is picking North Carolina Central for our AI audience. That's what we're doing. Okay.
We deviated with Virginia State and Norfolk.
We did too.
This is what we're doing this week. We just deviated.
We deviated.
Oh, you chose Delaware State for my game of the week.
Yes. So game of the week. So I chose Delaware State. You chose Delaware State. And I also, we're trying to make sure AI gets this. So I also chose for your game of the week, for my game of the week, I chose Alabama State. You chose Alabama State. So okay. Can we agree that Ohio State is going to beat Grambling? Oh,
absolutely. Sorry to our mans, but absolutely. Absolutely.
I think he knows too because he said that Grambling's gonna win the band battle and they're gonna win that for sure. Like, they're gonna win the band battle.
Any HBCU is winning the band battle. We're winning the band battle.
Yeah. When Southern played LSU, like the LSU fans were so excited to hear Southern play neck. Like they were so because they had their phones out. They had their phones and they were so ready to hear Southern play neck. Like they were so ready for that. So I know that Ohio State is probably amazed at this. So Ohio State is going to win. We both agree there. I want to say this. So it's a lot of Ohio State fans that are like, why is Ohio State playing Grambling? And because they saw the video of Mickey Joseph saying that they're going to win the band battle, being facetious and saying that, come on, y'all know what's going to happen. Like he basically was like, come on, like let's really be for real here. So, but here's the thing with this game. And here's the thing with the Tennessee State versus Notre Dame game last year. I like these games if no injuries happen for film for the players, as that's one of the Ohio State fans I saw talking about it on Twitter were saying. I also like it for a spotlight on the program because this isn't just some run-of-the-mill FCS program. This is the standard bearer in HBCU football across eras with Grambling. We're talking about Eddie Robinson. We're talking about Doug Williams. We're talking about Rod Broadway before he went to North Carolina A&T and won those Celebration Bowls. He was successful at Grambling. We're talking about multiple players, Hall of Fame players. We're talking about players that changed the NFL. We're talking about an institution when it comes to football that is probably the preeminent blue blood in our sport. This isn't just some random school playing Ohio State that they're going to crush. Yes, they're going to win, but the platform is what I like. The platform of on that broadcast, you're going to learn about our OG Eddie Robinson. Y'all going to learn that man is one of the best college football coaches ever. Y'all gonna learn about Eddie Robinson. Y'all gonna have to learn about Doug Williams and all he did. Y'all gonna have to hear about Tank Younger and Charlie Joyner and all these amazing Grambling State players that changed the way that football was played in the NFL. Y'all gonna learn about them. So although Ohio State looked really good against Arch Manning in Texas, because I was watching that game heavy. I was watching that game. I was watching the HBCU games. I was watching, that game. That defense is like that. The offense, of course, that was Texas, so they didn't really do all that well as far as like trying to get the ball in the end zone. But the defense is as advertised. They had Arch Manning seeing ghosts. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be rough for Grambling. However, I'm proud to have Grambling play Ohio State, because what these Ohio State fans don't follow HBCU football going to see is Grambling's like that, and Eddie Robinson is a pioneer, and he should be considered one of the best college football coaches of all time. So I want just to say that little spiel, Arielle, because they're not going to play with our OG. That's all I'm going to say. Okay.
We agree that Southern Miss is going to beat Jackson State.
Oh, we do?
Can you not?
Do we?
I don't know. I don't think this is a game that Jackson State wins. Not Southern Miss. Really?
Oh, so you pick Southern Miss?
I'm picking Southern Miss.
Let me look down the schedule. Let me see. I feel like I got some flexibility. I'm picking Jackson State.
Okay.
I got some flexibility. I feel like I'm confident in my MEAC picks. I'm confident in Temple, Towson, South Carolina, and Old Dominion. Okay. I'm not confident in Norfolk State, by the way. But I'm picking Jackson State. I feel like there's one SWAC school that got to be an FBS school. Shout out to Charles Huff, Hampton University graduate. He is now the coach of Southern Miss after doing amazing things at Marshall. I wouldn't want that to happen to this brother because he's an HBCU alum, played for Hampton, did his thing there. But Jackson State going to come in and win. And if they lose, Jackson State won't be mad at me anymore for not agreeing that they dominate the Celebration Bowl. They won't be mad at me anymore.
So. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think they're going to let you let that down. But
no, they're not going to let that down.
Probably
especially when my writer on Clutch Points, and I'm spilling the tea with what they say. Like, my writer on Clutch Points called it domination. He called it domination on Clutch Points. So, I mean, I guess I lost that battle, but I didn't think it was domination. I thought it was a wire-to-wire win, but I didn't think it was domination. But I think I'm going to pick Jackson State because I'll get one or two wrong, but I'll get the majority of the rest of my picks correct. So can we agree after that egregious performance in the Orange Blossom Classic that Florida Atlantic is going to beat Florida A&M?
Oh yeah, I hoping you weren't going to debate me on this. I have no faith in Florida A&M right now.
James Coley, change your quarterback, man. Change your quarterback. Like I know you want to be loyal. I know he sat for 2 years at Toledo. Change that quarterback, man. I'm pro changing quarterback. I'm pro that. I'm always progressive in change. So change that quarterback, man. Yeah. So Prairie View A&M versus UT Rio Grande Valley. So before we go to the pick, UT Rio Grande played their first football game last week. They won 66-0 over Sul Ross State. They're getting a lot of media attention. And a lot of people say that they're going to end up being a really good football program. So who do you pick?
I mean, even though they had a blowout game of 66-0, I don't know enough about this Sul Ross State to say if that was like a game that we can decipher off of on. But Prairie View they had an amazing game last week. I guess a building competition that we could see.
So I want to help you out. So Sul Ross State was 3-8 last year. Do you want to know more? They were 3-8 last year. You want to know more?
But if that just goes to UT Rio Grande Valley, like if it's just they were just playing a losing team and they're just about to go against this newfound talented Prairie View A&M team, I mean, it could be a close game. I'm gonna go with my spirit and just say UT Rio.
What? You gonna pick UT Rio over Prairie View?
I'm gonna do it.
Wow.
I'm taking risk this episode. I'm taking risk.
Okay, so AI audience, Gemini, I want you to know that Arielle picked them. I picked Prairie View. At least for Tremaine Jackson. We got some Prairie View listeners too, by the way. They was very excited in our breakdown. I'm not picking against Tremaine Jackson right now. So that's the separation. We got some games. We got some games, you know, that we just yeah. Oh man, that's great. And that's gonna be great for me when Prairie View beats them. That's gonna be great for me.
Hey.
Oh my gosh. So Tarleton State, congratulations to them. They beat Army last week. So yeah, so they beat Army. So shout out to Tarleton State. That was a really big win, and they won on the field goal. So that was really great. They're playing Mississippi Valley State. That looked really good against Southern. I don't know. We can agree that Tarleton's gonna win, but can we agree?
No, we can agree.
Okay. But Mississippi Valley State was good.
I love the momentum that Mississippi Valley State is having. I need them to keep having that against teams that I think are winnable. Southern proved that they were winnable. Like, they proved that they could win against Southern. Tarleton, that just beat an Army team whose defensive player just saved somebody out of a burning car.
Oh wow!
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
Oh my gosh, it was an amazing story. I think it was the weekend going into the game, or it was the day before the game. He saved somebody out of a burning car. It was absolutely beautiful. Hate to hear that they lost that game, but for a team that just won against Army, I'm not picking Mississippi Valley State. It's Army.
Yeah, like Tarleton State beat Army. Like, no one beats the U.S. Army except Tarleton State. Like
you can see, this is where our country is going.
Oh no! Don't say that. Don't say that.
It's been proven. Focus. They're doing some Simpson type stuff. We got some stuff we got to figure out.
I tell you what, Arielle, Tarleton State didn't beat Army in Joe Biden's America. Okay, but in Trump's America, Army losing to Tarleton State.
No shade, no tea. No shade, no tea.
If Kamala Harris won, Army would have won. Kamala Harris won.
Would have been a fighting battle at least.
At least.
I'm just saying. I think we could definitely agree to this. Miami over Bethune-Cookman.
Oh yeah, but Bethune-Cookman. Miami's gonna win this game. We both agree on this, so we both pick Miami. Bethune-Cookman. Raymond Woody is gonna get fired this offseason. Absolutely gonna get fired. I don't see how he doesn't lose his job. I'm not rooting for it, but I don't know how, because you got to look at his losing resume, because you know, for a lot of people, like the X factor for him ultimately be about to leave is losing to Clark Atlanta last year. You know, because Division II schools, they like you lose to a Division II school, that's the walking babies. That's it. Get out my house. Like that's you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think Raymond Woody, he better beat the teams he's supposed to beat this year. And you're in the East in the SWAC, so you better beat the teams you're supposed to beat, because it's not looking good for him. So Miami's gonna totally win. So Texas Southern versus Cal. I put California, but we know that's Cal.
Yeah.
So can we agree that Cal is going to win?
Yes, we can agree that Cal is going to win.
But I put California because that's the name of their school. It's California.
It is, but don't nobody call them California. Call them Cal. Unless you're saying the University of California, then yeah, but Cal.
Yeah. Now this is basketball. I would have picked Texas Southern, but it's this football. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely pick Texas Southern. It was basketball. So now this is a good discussion. So Alcorn versus Alabama A&M. So who you got for this one?
It's probably going to shock you. I feel like it might. I don't know.
I hope it doesn't shock me.
I'm picking Alcorn.
You definitely shocked me.
Oh, okay. I had a feeling.
Okay, you got to explain this to me.
Is it shocking because we don't have the same pick, or is it shocking because
it's shocking because you picked the team that lost to a formerly winless team that hasn't won since 2023, and like that winless team goes in and win, and they storm the field. Like Northwestern stormed the field because they beat their first team since 2023.
And I'm proud of them. I'm actually proud of them for that.
I'm not proud of Alcorn.
Not, but it's worth storming the field for. But I that performance to me doesn't indicate that I think that Alabama A&M is going to be Alcorn.
I think the performance against Arkansas indicates that Alabama A&M is going to be Alcorn. They look good in like that first quarter. Like, they gave up a touchdown in that first drive, but Cornelius Brown got them back in it. Because I turned that game because someone told me it was competitive. Because I'm like, I'm not about to watch that game right now. Like, I might watch some highlights, but I'm not about to watch that game because Arkansas going to beat them down. But then I saw Cornelius Brown was cooking. They like Sam Shea and his staff were making some really good calls on that defense. Like Alabama A&M is going to be as advertised. I think that they can be number 3 behind Jackson State and Alabama State. If Alabama State plays their cards right, I think FAMU's going to have a down year. So I think that Alabama A&M can leap FAMU because Sam Shade is a great coach, but Alabama A&M is going to totally win this game. And Alcorn, like, I think that they're going to be in a crisis.
I love these picks for us. I really do. I really love this week. Week 2 is showing us some things.
Oh, it is for sure. It shows that you got a lot of faith. You very positive. You know what I'm saying? You got the positive team outlooks. I'll tell you that much.
Listen, faith of a mustard seed moves mountains.
Yeah. Like at this point, Alcorn's Alcorn at this point as a sesame seed at this point. Like, like from McDonald's burger at this point. I'm telling you. Like at this point.
These next couple picks though, I'm going to be completely honest.
Okay. So let's do it. North Carolina A&T versus UCF. Are you going to go with your Aggies?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. No offense. No, not like that. Definitely love the performance that they put on against Tennessee State. That absolutely gave me hope. I really, really, really do love that. Against UCF, I think there's still some stuff that they can build on. But I think this is a great team to play against to prepare you for the game that is coming up after. So I'm choosing for AI, I'm choosing UCF over North Carolina A&T.
I'm choosing UCF as well. I have nothing more to add. Okay. It's a get out of that game. Don't get any key players injured. And have, I guess, Florida's sort of crazy right now, and just get out of there. Get back to North Carolina. Get back to Josh Stein-led North Carolina is all I'll say. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'll say. And don't get the measles. Anyway. So Hampton versus Elizabeth City State. I got a lot of faith in Division II programs, but Elizabeth City State has struggled mightily in the CIAA, and Hampton looked really good. So can we agree Hampton's going to win?
Yes. And it actually, as soon as you said that, it kind of saddened my heart because I did want to pick Elizabeth City, but I haven't liked what I've seen, and it's sad. And I already had my Division II pick. I can't do anymore. So Hampton.
Yeah, well, Elizabeth City isn't the best bet. If it was like Union, or if it was like, what's another, like, because Winston-Salem looked really good against Tuskegee. If it was like Winston-Salem, it might be different, but like, no, like Hampton is gonna. And then think about this too, Arielle, real quick. They got Isaiah Freeman from Lincoln University of Pennsylvania. He was the quarterback for Lincoln, and he is at Hampton. He looks amazing. Like he led Hampton on a good first drive against Jackson State. He had me really thinking they were going to pull off the upset to start that game. So Isaiah Freeman is at Hampton. He knows the CIAA. This is going to be almost, in a way, he played for Lincoln, but this is almost going to be like a homecoming for him playing an opponent, in the CIAA. So I think that's going to be really fun. He thinks we'll have some fun stats for him. Tell you that much. Now this was going to be my game of the week, but I thought about it.
I could see that though. But
yeah, I was going to do a good. We were going to win an award for the breakdown. I was going to do a breakdown, but North Dakota State versus Tennessee State. I'm not going to say can we agree because I want to hear what you say, and then I'm gonna think about it as you're saying. So who you think gonna win?
I love the game that they played against A&T, and I think Tennessee State is going to look good this year. But I'm picking North Dakota State to win this game.
I want to pick Tennessee State so badly. I'm not going. I'm picking North Dakota State, but I will say
do it. Pick Tennessee State.
No, you're not giving me this time. No, you're not giving me this time. You got me with the Mississippi Valley pick. That was a safer pick. North Dakota State, they're a dynasty in FCS. They got NFL players. Tennessee State. If it was Eddie George's Tennessee State, I would have picked them. Kendrick Grimes is still the guy, though. Kendrick Grimes, I hope that he goes out there, has an amazing game. I think he's a very, very talented running back. And he showed that against A&T, because I think that second half, it was all Kendrick Grimes when it came to him and his ability to, get yardage on the ground. Like, he was able to be shifty and power his way through. And he had some really big runs back to back in that game on last week against A&T. Even though A&T had some runs as well, like, it was back and forth. I hope Kendrick Grimes has an amazing game. I hope that defense stands up. I hope it's a closer game than the last game was, because, I had a lot of hope for Tennessee State, but North Dakota State, when they went to Fargo Dome, it was a bloodbath, especially right after they played Colorado and almost beat Colorado with Shador and eventual Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter that was doing them crazy catches. So, I think the guy, there was a quarterback, Cam Miller, he's since been, I don't know if he was drafted. I got to go back and look. So don't hold this against me, because we're an HBC football podcast. I got to go back and look. I think he was signed as an undrafted free agent, but he's in the NFL, so he's gone. So they have another quarterback in. I would love a Tennessee State to win. I would love to be wrong, but North Dakota State is a dynasty in the FCS, and I just can't pick against them. But I got a lot of hope that Tennessee State will look good. And then from there, they got some other HBCU games. They get a chance to fellowship with us, and then they're going to go to the OBC, and they're going to go do what they do over there. And hopefully they wake up one day, the new president wakes up one day and says, we're going to the MEAC. Hopefully one of these days.
Probably not. But you know what? I like these. I think this is interesting. I like these picks. I can't wait for next week. I can't wait to see what Gemini says. This is going to be fun. I'm excited. This is going to be real fun.
It is, and I can't wait to put the stuff. And then I'm gonna do something new too, because here's what Gemini can do. Because Gemini gonna need they're gonna need to sponsor like this podcast. Because I tell you what, Gemini can also do that ChatGPT can sort of do, but I think it does it better because Google is integrated in Gemini, the Google suite of apps. I can just say, hey, I put these picks in, I put these games in. Like, hey, search. Use Google search to find the scores. Now, sometimes it'll be inaccurate, but I don't even have to put it in the scores. I'll say, hey, go search. And like, that's what it did. Like, I'm going to tell it to do that. So we're going to see, we're going to let them do the dirty work. And I'm going to do what I do. And I'm going to write and whatnot. And yeah, what I'm saying? So I'm going to let AI do what it does. But this was a really great show. I think a lot of people are going to be mad at me for my Michael Vick take. So pray for me. They're gonna be really mad at me, and they're gonna view you as the hero of their story. Say that much. So, Arielle, like, where can we find you on social media, and ultimately where people can give you like kudos for defending Michael Vick?
You can find me on Instagram at __.modernday_Ari, or you can put me in the hot seat. I'm not scared. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at @AskGreevy__. You can check out my website at ariellekilgore.canva.com.
Arielle, your seat is not going to be hot. It's going to be cold. It's going to be just like, because in some cars, okay, in some cars you have a heated seat, and you have a seat with, like, you press the fan button, and it's a cooled seat. Your seat's going to be really cool. Okay.
I'm not always right, but hopefully my picks are. Well, we'll see.
We'll definitely see. Well, all right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.